Last time, we expanded our city services with buses, post offices, and improved police coverage. Plus, we built it a new farm town. Today, we're going to test out an idea for a lightweight passenger port and start our first residential development on some hills. If all goes well, this would be the development pattern that informs how we approach hillside development across Elba. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's just jump right in. Alright, welcome back to Elba, Italy. First things first, we've got to fix the power issue. At the end of the last episode, I noticed we were running into some serious problems. We're basically right on the edge of maxing out our power capacity, just barely keeping up with consumption. That makes sense though. We only have one wind turbine at the moment, and it's just not going to cut it anymore. So here's the plan. We're going to do what Elba did originally. They ran an underground power line back to the main island. That's essentially what we're going to replicate because there's just no viable spot on this island to build a proper power station. But let's quickly recap why the other options aren't very good. For starters, the only thing we have unlocked, and the only thing that we could afford, is a coal power plant. It's got a fairly big footprint, but also requires a substantial amount of upkeep in the form of imports of coal and wages. Plus, the long-term effects of pollution just make this a very unviable option. Really, everything else is too massive, and we couldn't afford it anyways. So that's why we're going to import our electricity, but in order to actually import it, we need to send a power line in from the main island, and to do that, we need to build a transformer station. And we need to find a good place to put this transformer station. I feel like ideally we'd probably want two, depending on the consumption of electricity. I'm not an electricity expert in any means, but I feel like we would want two. The thing that would worry me about only having one transformer station and even one high voltage line is we're essentially creating a single point of failure. And if that fails, the entire grid fails. But we do have our restrictions that we're trying to work with here. So I'm thinking we could maybe have one up here and then one somewhere around here, probably with our bus station or our bus depot and our recycling center. So I think we'll start with our first transformer and we're going to place that right near our bus depot. This is essentially kind of junk land now. There's going to be some pollution, not only from the recycling center, but also from the buses. And we're going to place it somewhere right about here. So we'll need to send a road back here as well. And I'm just going to use a dirt road. And if you're wondering why I keep using so many dirt roads, it's because we're building out very long stretches of roads. And right now, we're sitting at negative $4,247 per hour, and that's rough. We only have $104,000 left in the bank, and I'm trying to preserve our money as much as possible. Otherwise, growth is just impossible. This is something I've been fighting with this entire series. Oh no, why did I move it? Every time I've ever moved a transformer station, I've always broken it. And even if I replace it back, it still doesn't work. Like, let's try this out. Yeah, no, it still won't connect. And I've tried to do everything to fix this, but the only way to fix it is just to delete it and place it down again, which means we're just burning through extra money for fun. Now here comes the part that scares me. We're gonna have to install our power lines, and we're gonna do that by coming all the way over here. Now I'm gonna put them underneath our tunnel or underground tunnel road type thing, and that probably wouldn't happen in real life, but there probably also wouldn't be a massively long tunnel stretching probably at least, 30, 40 kilometers? I don't even know how far the main island is from Elba, but for simplicity, I'm just going to add it underneath the road. And if you were wondering why I was scared, it's because we've burnt through so much money adding this in. The length of this power line is insane, and it is not cheap. We only had $100,000 to start with, and now we have $33,000. But with that in, that was a good investment for our power, and now we can finally grow again. And then I'm just going to take this little power line from this road and just send it into this road as well. I'm trying not to bottleneck our connection here, but honestly, that's probably not going to do much. I just want to be careful of the money we're spending, which means we're not going to add a second transformer station in. We couldn't afford it. And I would honestly be a bit scared to run those power lines. I'm honestly scared to click play. Okay, so I fixed up some of the burnt down houses here and some of the burnt down farms, and I'm ready to click play and let this simulate. We need to have at least a little bit of money, otherwise we're not going to be able to do any development. Okay, I'm not sure how. I've let it simulate for about a month in game, and we're finally in the green. I notice our money fluctuates pretty heavily, and I think it just depends on how many people are moving in and how many people are moving out. Right now, we have a lot of people moving in, and that's great. Thank you. I appreciate that, people. And I think now we're going to let this simulate just a bit longer, get a little bit more money, and we'll be able to start our development. Okay, it's finally April, and I think we're ready to actually start building out our little port. It's kind of an interesting idea, and honestly, I'm not even sure if it's going to work, but I still want to try it anyways. To do this, we're going to come over here, and this is the little area we're going to be developing. So we're going to have some hillside development. We'll have maybe a tiny beach, nothing too big. We're going to have a port somewhere in this vicinity, and I'll be surprised if it works. But to get started, I think we'll have to get a road sent in here. And I don't want to use an alleyway. I definitely want to use something a bit different because this will be carrying our main traffic. And we could just use the Elba 2-lane road, which is just essentially a smaller version. But I think I'm going to make it just a bit bigger because, again, this will be carrying our traffic. And if our port works, then we'll have a bunch of traffic coming onto here. So I think we could actually have reasoning for a bit of a bigger road. All right, and I really didn't want the lane markings, but honestly, I can't get rid of them, so I think this should do pretty fine. Now we're going to take our new road, and we're going to send it up Mill Lane, and to do that, we'll probably have to get rid of the roundabout as well, but we're going to delete this to start off with, and let's also delete the roundabout, and now we're just going to upgrade this entire road into our Elba Rosewood 2-lane road, and we're still accepting names, so if you got any, drop them in the comments, and we'll make the changes soon. There we go, that's looking pretty good. It's definitely a bit different from all of our other roads in Elba right now. Let's quickly come over here and we're going to need to make some adjustments to this terrain just a tiny bit. And what I mean by that is we're gonna have to flatten this area and create some land for us to actually work on. Roughly above the water line is where we're going to do our leveling, otherwise things would flood. So we'll kind of grab right about there and then just start pulling this out. And then I want this to kind of be on a slight angle, kind of like that right there, because this is where we'll send our actual port line into. And now we need to get some roads connecting this area up and the other area. And first, I'm looking at all these trees and they're kind of driving me a bit crazy. So let's just get rid of all of them. We'll add in our own trees after. Okay, and now that that's done, we're going to take our road and just try and follow along the contour lines if we can. But to start off with, we are just going to go right up the hill. We'll curve in slightly. And then we'll just turn this corner, come back in. And this is really the contour line I want to follow because it'll make our hillside development much easier. And then we're just going to go straight through. Follow this curve once more, and this won't matter as much because we'll have houses on top of this hill, so we don't really need a good connection. Then we're just going to follow along the contour lines until we get right into our little flat area. Okay, now all of this is looking really, really good, but we do have one problem. All the traffic comes from pretty much here all the way into this, so it's just essentially one super long cul-de-sac. How do we break this up? And I think we're just going to send an alleyway right near the water. It won't be the same sense as properly breaking it up, but it will help a lot. And the big thing is if our port works here, we won't have to worry so much about this being a giant cul-de-sac because we'll have that alternative means of transportation, which we could use to get around the island. But before I actually run that alleyway, I think it makes a lot of sense to start planning out our uses, what we'll have here and why. I think that's going to help a lot. Otherwise, I'm just going to start running an alleyway through everything, and then I'll have to delete it anyways. So I'm going to start planning this area out just so I have an idea of what I'll actually be doing. And this time, I want to try and stay close to the plan as possible. I've thought about this for a while now, so I better stay close to the plan, otherwise I'm going to consider myself a failure. Now, on this edge of the map right here, or I guess the little land, we're going to add in a beach. I'm not sure if I'll do it this episode. It might be the episode later, or maybe in a major detailing episode, but I do want this to be some type of beach or maybe even a warehouse or a storage facility for boats or ships. Next up, I want this to be our low residential development, and maybe we'll even extend beyond this point. I'm not sure yet, but I'm thinking we'll use the southwestern houses again, kind of match the other area, which I think is called Thornton right now, and then maybe we'll add in just a tiny bit of mixed use. Then I want this area to be commercial. So maybe a simple beachside restaurant, you get off your cruise, you walk into our port, come get distracted by all of our amazing food. Maybe a few stores have some souvenirs. I can imagine this area is heavily propped up by this port and therefore tourism, so we want to focus on that if we can. And then last but not least, we'll have our beach here, and then parking right above it. Not so interesting, not so fun. Finally, last but not least, let's add a bit of nature here so we can have some trails that go up and around this. Maybe there's a gazebo at the top. You walk all the way up to the top of the hill. You look down at the port, the boats, the city. I think that could be pretty cool. Now let's get our actual passenger port in. And I think for where our passengers are going to walk on, it'll just be along this small pedestrian road. They are one way, so we need to send them both ways or at a roundabout in order for them to work. But we'll worry about that when the time comes. Right now, we're just going to start by building out the essentially structure of it. And I think we'll go on that angle because I like the way it looks. And then we'll come out about, 16 units, I guess. Then we'll go 3 over and then back in. And it's not beautiful by any means, and it's definitely sunken underwater, so we'll have to fix that. But for testing purposes, I don't want to get too into the weeds here. I just want to know if this is going to work at all. All right, so let's move on to the most difficult part of our build. We are going to take this integrated passenger ship stop. We're going to place it, I guess, right about here. The interesting thing to note is that it says it doesn't work on roads, but we're going to try this anyways. So we need to unlock our passenger ship line tool. And we also need to drag our seaway into this area. So let's just do something kind of like that. Actually, I think we'll need to get really close if we want this to work. Otherwise, the pathfinding will probably fail. So let's just try that. I think that should work. We'll know if we have passengers coming off the ship, if it actually is going to work. And I really hope it does, because this is going to be such a cheap way to have passenger ships. And the big thing for me is that the passenger port is just massive. I want to reduce its scale significantly. So if we want to place a ship line into here, we actually need to place down the passenger port first. I was trying to avoid that because it's essentially all of our money. And maybe I was hoping that the passenger line tool would be in dev mode, but it's not. So we're just going to place it down over here. That'll unlock our line tool. We'll delete it. And now we can finally add our lines into this area. So from here to, I guess, probably just Grantley and then back in. Please work. All right, now let's wait and see for our first ship if this is gonna work. Okay, here comes our first ship. Let's see. Oh wait, we won't know if it works unless the ship carries passengers, and this one has 0. Oh, that's not fun. Okay. I guess the good news is it will function. So there's something here that maybe might work. Maybe just a little bit of playing around and testing to see. But now that I'm looking at this, we don't even have a connection in. So why would anyone want to come here? You're essentially coming to nothing. You'd be coming here to walk around a pedestrian road and that's it. So let's actually add a connection in here. And we'll just send this pedestrian road on a curve right into our main road. Perfect. Okay. And let's flip this around. Or I guess, how do you get out? You can't get out. You can go in, but you can't get out. The vehicle specifically. So we'd probably, actually, I kind of want to see a vehicle trapped in the loop. I think it'd be funny, but let's upgrade this to just a normal pedestrian road. It's a bit big and bulky, but honestly, this entire design is just awful. So I don't think it's going to matter. I'm wondering what is going on with the terrain right here. Definitely looks a bit rough and it's going to bug me. Seriously, I wonder what's going on with it, but we're just going to upgrade this to a key wall because I have a feeling that might fix it. And yes, it does. Perfect. I've spent a long time watching these ships, hoping something will come in with the passenger and the passenger will get off, but it doesn't seem like they will. And maybe that's just because we have nothing here. There's no reason to come here unless you're getting on the road and somehow getting a taxi or a bus all the way to one of the other areas. So let's actually start developing this so they have a reason to come here. And the way we're going to do this is by setting an alleyway right above the waterline, and we'll curve along it as well. First, let's get rid of this district just because it's kind of bugging me. I want to be able to see. And we're going to connect our alleyway right into our passenger road. And then we're just going to follow along the water line all the way until we get to right about here. And that'll be our second connection so we can kind of un-cul-de-sac this. But that area is a cul-de-sac too, so it won't really help all that much. And for right now, I'm still unsure what I want to be here, so I'll just connect in right about there. And all of this is looking really good, except for the fact that we have a large portion of our road that is under the water line. So we're just going to grab move it, select all of our nodes. We will just set it to object height, let's say right about here. And that is so much better. All right, everything is looking really good so far. We have our nice road that's just hugging the water line. And now let's start thinking about parking. So we're going to send a parking road from right about here. Actually, let's fix this hill. I didn't mean to cut through it when I was doing my grading, and I don't want it to be some blasted hill. I'm just going to blame myself for lack of precision with the leveling tool. But while we're grading, we might as well grade up here as well. And we're just going to take one single height and stretch it across this part right here. This is going to make our development so much easier. Otherwise, we're going to have really wonky buildings and they're going to be sinking to the ground, or the fences are going to be messed up. So this to me is just really the best way to do this. Actually, we could say that this is the soil that filled in that little water spot. But now anyways, we're going to run a road right through, right along. I want to try and create some sort of grid here. And the more I look at this, the more I realize this probably isn't going to work. There just isn't enough space. We couldn't even have two developments here. So this will need to be deleted and we'll need to try again. This time we'll start from the far end and we'll just send our road in, trying to get about 2 units on each side. Then we'll send this along this part of the hill right here. And we'll also send one road down. And our slopes are actually pretty good, except for right here where there seems to be some jank happening. So we're just going to use move it. We'll select our node and we're just going to lower this, which will increase our slope. And we're getting water and I am silly. I'm doing the completely wrong thing. Let's try from up here. There we go. Now it's fixing it. We have to cut into the hill just a bit more, but I'm fine with it. Sometimes you need to make decisions in order to actually develop on land, and this is one of those decisions that we'll have to make. Now let's continue sending our road throughout this area, and I think this could be another plot of land, so we'll send this right about in the middle. And then we're just going to curve around this little hill right here. We might have to flatten it, and the reason why I say that is just because we need to get some sort of development in here, and we definitely can't develop on this weird slope. And I like that. I think it's looking pretty good. We'll need to be careful with our zoning though, and we'll have to only have small buildings, say 2x2s. Now on this side, let's just do a bit of flattening again. This time we're going to flatten just a bit less. I just want to make sure there's room for development here. And that is pretty much perfect. And then let's just try and send a few roads snaking our way through here. And then last but not least, let's connect into our kind of main road right here. We'll use the complex curve tool to accomplish this though. So we'll just go straight out, slightly over, and then in. And that is perfect. Even the grade isn't all that bad. Now that we have the core fundamentals for our area, we want to start thinking about connections into the area. So the first one that pops up into my mind is maybe one right here. We can come something like this. And then maybe down and in, but no, the slope is way too hard. So maybe we curve all the way around. No, the slope's still a bit rough, but honestly, I just don't like how close we're getting to our main road. So let's move to... Okay, so if we measure, it's roughly about 18%. So what that means is we need to get a switchback in place in order to actually go down. And that is looking pretty solid, both in the visual appeal of it and the slope of it. So let's try right here now. And we're getting about 7 to 8%. And honestly, that's perfectly fine. So this is a perfect connection in my mind. And I think we could actually add just a bit more development right about here. So we'll need to do just a tiny bit of grading first. Now we'll just take our road and connect it right in. And this is our road network. Honestly, I think it actually looks pretty good for the circumstances we're working with. There's going to be some bad, janky things that we're going to see once we develop this area, but we're going to hide a lot of it with trees and bushes. So we don't want it to come out too bad. Now let's move on to plopping our residential buildings. So first things first, we need to flatten out this little hilly area right here. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to develop it at all. Now we're just going to place some 2x2 southwestern residential houses into this area. I'm not sure how well it's going to fit because, I mean, we don't have a lot of room. We'll need to make sure it's 2x2 though. There we go. And it seems like it'll actually fit pretty well. We'll try and mix up the balance between these two because there's only 2 assets. Either way though, I think with the setup we have right now, it's going to look pretty good at the end. And if you live right here, how would the view be? As long as we don't block it by trees, the view would be really nice. You get to see the boat, you could see the pier, maybe even the beach. But we might place houses on the other side, so I don't want them to get their hopes up just yet. I'm going to try and center this road just a bit more, trying to maximize our development space. I think that should do the trick. Yeah, that'll work definitely a lot better. And this might be nonsensical, but I'm going to get rid of this house and hopefully we can add in just a small little park, maybe just somewhere you could sit and hang out if you lived in this area. Otherwise, we're kind of destroying that view and we're giving it to someone who has more money. And we can see that right here, the grading for the houses was just all off. They were essentially on a massive slope the second you enter the property. And all we have to do to fix that is just slope our way up and give them some actual ground. So when we click on it, it'll snap to the ground closer to the road rather than the hill itself. And right here, we have some terrible things happening. And there's really 2 ways to fix this. 1, we can add a key wall. 2, we could just detail some trees right over it. I'm going to try the key wall first, and we're going to have to break this node in order to do that. So we'll just draw a road right down, then we'll add in our key wall, and then we'll delete the road. And that's almost better. We just need to do some grading now. And I don't know whether I love that or I hate that. It's tough for me to say. I almost kind of liked when there was just a hill there because we could have just plopped some trees on it and called it a day. But the way it is now, I don't know. We're going to do the same thing over here. So we'll just extend our key wall just a bit further. I just want to try and maximize our development space here, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. For the time being, I think I'm going to leave it. All right, that is all of our development. And I think it's looking really, really good. It's going to be so much better once we add in trees. For right now, it's definitely a bit naked, but I still like it a lot. It was a very compact and tricky area, and we still made it work. All right, now let's move on to our parking, then our commercial, and then the beach. And we'll start with the easiest one, which is just parking. So we'll use the parallel road tool, and we'll just use the curve tool as well, and we'll mix those together, and we will just get 2 parallel perfect parking lots. And yeah, that's pretty much perfect. It doesn't need to be anything more than that. Now, we're going to take some of these commercial assets right here, and we're going to try and smash them together in a way that feels cohesive. I don't really like smashing assets together pretty much ever, but in this case, I'm just going to do it. Pretty much right there should work, and it's turning out pretty good. I'm excited. I can't wait to see some people come from the boat, though. That would be nice. Now I want to find something that's a bit more hefty. Let's say 4x4 or maybe level 5. Maybe we could go with the public market square. I like it a lot, and I feel like it does look a bit beat up, which will work really well in this area. In fact, I think it would actually go where those buildings are. It's kind of like the first building that you're seeing when you're walking in here. And this could be like our restaurant, or maybe it's a fishery of some sort. Maybe you can come here to buy bait. I don't know what you're going to do here, but you're going to do something here, and it's going to be great. And it's going to be water themed because we don't have any water themed assets. Now let's get rid of our district because it's starting to bug me a bit. And then finally, let's start building out our beach. For our beach, I really just want to start speedrunning this because it's going to be very simple. It's going to be our base sand texture. Then we'll have the lighter sand texture and so on and so forth. It's pretty much just going to be that. We'll maybe add a few chairs here, and I think 1 or 2 playgrounds for the children that are around this area. All right, in order to get this working, we're actually going to have to do a bit of grading here. Otherwise, the surfaces are going to look super, super weird. So we're just going to pull this out. We're going to play around with the terrain until we get it to look somewhat nice. And this is essentially our base. Now we just need to add some decals and do a little bit of detailing. And for now, that's pretty much going to be all the detailing I'm going to do at the beach. I think it looks pretty good. So now we're going to swap over to trees. The houses need trees, and it's starting to drive me a bit crazy. It just looks so naked and bare. So because of that, we're going to fill it up with trees, and then we'll move on to our trails. And just blowing through our cache here, but it looks so much better than before. Now, I just want you to imagine with me here for a second. Imagine that these trees don't need to be here so we can hide the ugly cliff textures. Just kind of imagine that, right? The reason why I'm saying this is because I know there is a lot of views that have been blocked with all of these tree placements. And I mean, if you're from right here, your views are okay, given that you're sitting on the top of the roof. If you're from here, they're awful. And I would honestly love to fix that, but it's just if we do, we're gonna be left with some really, really ugly textures that are just not gonna look nice at all. It's not even just the cliff textures, it's the weird shadows that come from having this elevation. So with that said, if there's a way to improve it, I'm happy to do so, but I probably won't remove too many of these trees, and I'm just gonna pretend that the views still exist. Okay, now we're gonna do our trails, and I'm thinking about taking an alleyway and just setting it up here and doing some switchbacks. I'd like to provide car access to this. That way we can have some amenities like parks or something up there. If we don't, then we'll have to use a pedestrian path, and that doesn't support power, water, or sewage. So let's try and get this alleyway to work. And I really don't like what's happening. This is just destroying the hillside. It's a bad idea. I wish I could just undo what I've done here. So I'm gonna do my best to smooth this and try and fix it. So first we're gonna do some leveling and bring it back up to roughly the height it was before. Then we're gonna smooth it. Okay, and that's not perfect, but is a billion times better than whatever I was doing before. Now we're just gonna run pedestrian paths up here. We won't worry about the access to sewage, water, and power. We'll try and make it work anyways. It doesn't need to be some super fancy hill. It could just be something simple. So we're gonna go into Road Builder and we're gonna grab one of our gravel paths. So we'll grab this one right here. And then we're just gonna run this from these sides of the road and we'll send it all the way around the mountain. There we go, and it almost looks like the Uzumaki symbol. So when you're up here, you're standing, you're looking at all the people who are getting off the boat, and you're living the dream, I guess. You walked all the way up here for essentially nothing because we can't power anything. Then again, every time I've been on a trail, it's just to do something and get out of the house. So I don't know why I'm saying nothing for. These people are on a vacation to Elba, and I'm sitting here talking about nothing. So now we're just going to run a second one alongside the mountain over here, and we'll just connect back in with our previous paths. And I don't like the black shadowy texture, so I'm just going to delete this and try again. Try and get something a bit more natural, I guess. And that is much better. Now, I think we could probably run one over here as well. Okay, and that's pretty much our trails. They're a bit wacky, they're a bit funky, I kind of like them. The more I think about it though, the more I feel like we are missing the opportunity to get all the way up here as well. And I guess the key thing to keep in mind here is that these are not going to be compliant with anything of North American standards for accessibility. These are some pretty rough trails. They're not easy to walk on. You know what you're getting into when you come up here. All right, now let's just add, I don't know, maybe 2 gazebos, and that'll be their reward for coming all the way to the top. You can look down at the people getting off the boat, I guess. All right, now let's just add in some trees to make this look a bit better. And actually, let's try and preserve the views on this one. You should be able to come up here. You walked all the way up to these trails. Like, come on, you should at least get something. And we want to be able to see the boat, so we'll remove this one as well. And I think that is pretty good. And you know what? This would be a pretty important view too. You'd want to be able to see all the water. Otherwise, what is the point? To be blocked by trees? And that's not too bad. But also back here, you kind of want a 360-degree view. And I think that should be fine. And that is our paths and trees done. I love it because when you're on the boat, the first thing you see is just a bunch of greenery. You kind of see this big old hill. You probably want to come up here. I know I would definitely want to come up there. That way I could see what it looked like from the boat and from the top of the hill. And you'd be like, oh yeah, I was just on that boat. Well, I guess you couldn't because the boat would probably be gone by the time you made it up here. This would be a pretty long trail to make your way up to. All right, now let's just do a bit of finishing touches. And I think the one thing these people who lived right here are missing is a way down. So it'd be a pretty far trip if you live here. You'd have to come all the way down here. Okay, it's actually not that bad. But it's still not amazing by any means. Let's say you live right here. You just have to go all the way around. Yeah, okay. So let's add in one path here. It's not as bad as I thought, but we can still make it work. We'll say something like this, and then we'll just come all the way down and curve right in. Now, it's not much, but you would get views and it would improve the walk, and you don't have to worry about being hit by a car from the alleyway. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, now I just want to finish up some detailing here, specifically for the parking lot and our 3 or 4 commercial buildings. I'm hoping someone is going to come into that boat before then. I just want one person. Just give me one person and I'm happy. This whole entire thing was worth it. Okay, I lied. I'm not going to do parking. I got distracted by this boat thing for about 30 minutes. I've changed out this pedestrian pier, I guess, and I'm hoping it'll make a difference. Maybe it just didn't like the other one. I've changed the color of the boats. I added more boats to the line. I made the price free, then I changed the price back to $2. I am trying everything to make this work, but honestly, I just have a feeling that this doesn't work. So my next and last shot is to put 2 down, and maybe that'll fix this somehow. All right, so now I'm just gonna move on to detailing for a bit. To keep things very, very simple, I'm gonna adjust some of the colors of these buildings. I'm gonna place down some bushes. I'm gonna change out some surfaces. Actually, I lied again. Right now, I just realized that this area has no services, and even this area right here, it could really use some death care. We have some crime over here, so we're gonna place down one of our police stations, probably somewhere over here, and we're gonna assign it to the districts around this area. A lot of them are very big, but I think we can make this one work. It's small enough where, you know, we won't dig too heavily into the hillside, but also it's got that roof that we can change and make it blend in more with the other buildings. All right, now let's try and get a terracotta color, and it looks like this one just doesn't like me too much. Actually, why don't we just copy and paste it from one of the Southwestern assets? That seems like a much better idea. I'm gonna try that. So let's paste it in. Yeah, that's fine. It's not perfect, but it's fine. And we definitely need to extend our district over here because right now it's essentially just in one little pocket of area. Let's stretch it out, and we still need names. So if you have any names, please let me know. All right, now I'm just going to speed run detailing these parking lots and the commercial assets. I want to get this done quickly, and I don't want to spend too much time on it. All right, and about 28 minutes later, it's looking pretty good. I definitely feel like I could be using my time more wisely, like expanding into the mountains like I should be, but we're going to be doing that very soon. We're going to do a bunch of development, and I would love to see these households max out, but it doesn't seem like they will, at least for the time being. Overall, yeah, I think this is a solid area. It turned out much better than I originally envisioned, and I think we can pretty much take this formula and apply it all over to the rest of Elba. The one thing I'm going to do is fill in this area for right now, just until I figure out what I want to do with it. I'm not really sure. Originally, I wanted it to be a beach or some kind of warehouse for boats or ships or something, but then I realized the only boat asset we have is the big passenger ship, and that's just, it's not going to work. It's too massive. All right, and here we go. We're basically finished up, and I think these trees complemented the area so much better. Although I'm tempted to go in and just delete a few. I think I might do that either next episode or the episode after. And here we go. After adding all the extra trees, this is what it looks like in cinematic mode. And I just love it. Like, I really, really love it. It looks so nice. It feels so alive, and just it's the trees. The trees make everything. If you have empty spaces, just fill them in with trees because they will make such an improvement. I also really like how the layout came out as well. I was worried when I was plopping the houses that the layout may not look as good as I need it to be, but the layout works perfectly fine in my opinion, and I think it actually came out pretty good. The trail itself, I wish we could see the trail. You kind of can, but not really. If I deleted some trees, we could, but I don't know if I want to do that. And overall, all three of these really blend together. I would just want to see a bit more development on some of those hills as well, just to finalize this. Now, before we end things off today, we got a comment from Saspry. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. The police station should have a fence all around it. I know you only said the parking lot, but I put it around everything because I feel like it completes the look, and fences off the building from maybe some criminals or something. I don't know. And before we wrap up, I want to give a huge shout out to our first Patreon supporter, Mihai B. Thank you so much. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. If I didn't, feel free to scold me in the comments. I'll be setting up a proper scrolling credits list to feature our patrons at the end of every video soon, so stay tuned for that. If you'd like to help support the channel, or you just want me to shout out your name in future videos, feel free to check out our Patreon page. And that is a wrap. I had a ton of fun making today's video, and I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help a lot with the algorithm. I'll see you in the next one.